What was your own personal journey from college to meeting your guru?
It was really quite a journey. I started a journey which took me to 75 countries around the world.
That's amazing.
So by the time I was 25, I'd visited 75 countries. I studied in Japan in a Zen Buddhist monastery.
Okay.
I studied the Sufi tradition in Beirut, Lebanon, and studied every spiritual text I could find. When Muktananda found me, so to speak, he came to the United States, and in short order, I received Shaktipat from him, and I found what I was looking for.
More about Kundalini awakening and how we can integrate it to your, I'm asking you very, integrate it to everyday life.
And once you receive a transmission from a lineage, the Siddha lineage, the Kundalini energy begins to work in the Sushumna Nadi and begins to pierce the various chakras as a means of unfolding our true capacity.
What is your take on self-realization then, ego, and the path of renunciation or the path of realization? I mean, in terms of
so there are different approaches to realizing the self. And I would say, and my Baba would teach from both of them. He would teach from the perspective of Vedanta and from the perspective of Kashmiri Shaivism. So it was a little confusing for me at the beginning, because one day Baba would say, Brahman alone is real, the world is an illusion, and the individual soul is none other than Brahman, right? So renounce the world
Vedanta.
and Vedanta, right? And the next day he would say, Chaitanya Matman, everything is consciousness. God exists in everyone and everything. Do the practice of seeing God in others and in everything. And I was, being a complete, really beginner on the spiritual path, confused. I used to think, well, which one is it? Is the world real? Is it divine? Or is it an illusion?
Good morning, everybody. And today I have with me a personality, a person who cannot be described in a few words. So I'll try to tell a little about him, and then I would request him to tell more about himself. So with me I have with me today Swami Brahmananda Saraswati. His name is David Donald, 1950 born at Pittsburgh. He received his Shaktipat initiation from Swami Muktananda in August 1975. He has practiced Siddha Yoga, Kashmir Shaivism, and Vedanta. He knows the Vedanta philosophy as well as the Shaivism philosophy. He got into sannyas through a Diksha in 1980 and was named as Brahmananda. He established a Siddha Meditation Center in Los Angeles in 1981, coordinated about 35 ashrams and 350 meditation centers across the United States of America. He is the founder of an organization, God Realization, in 1995, where he taught Siddha Yoga to more than 200 churches, in more than 200 churches in the USA. He served also as a spiritual director at Simple Peace retreats. Currently, he has a large number of meditation centers, ashrams, spots, places where he does his satsang, his meditation programs, and his practices. This is a brief about the guest I have today, and I would request him to add on to anything which I have missed, and over to Swami Brahmananda.
Beautiful. Thank you for the lovely introduction. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
I welcome you all with great love and with great respect.
Is there anything else you want to add to my introduction? This is all I could get. I mean, I think
I'm
tip of the
doing
iceberg.
the work of my guru, Swami Muktananda, and his worldwide mission was to spread the meditation revolution. So he first came to the United States in 1970. He made 3 world tours where he initiated thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Westerners into meditation. And his message was very simple. He would say, meditate on yourself, honor yourself, love and respect your own being. God dwells within you as you. And once you realize the divinity within your own self, the spiritual practice is simply to see that same divinity in everyone and in everything. So I'm really just an extension of my teacher. I have the same teachings, the same practices. I'm in the midst of a world tour at this moment. 18 countries have invited me to come and to teach meditation and to give an initiation called Shaktipat. So my guru gave Shaktipat to me, which is the direct transmission of fully awakened Shakti energy, which awakens the Kundalini in the seeker and facilitates the very natural unfoldment of the Kundalini through meditation. So people from around the world have invited me to come to give Shaktipat intensives and to teach meditation.
Can I ask you a question here is, can you tell me your journey from your college to meeting Swami Muktanand? What was your own personal journey from college to meeting your guru?
It was really quite a journey. I was going to school in New York City at the time. I was a student at Columbia University, and my roommate took a course in transcendental meditation.
Okay.
And then he tried to teach us transcendental meditation without giving us a mantra. And I remember the first time he said, just sit and have no thoughts. And I thought I was going crazy. I couldn't have no thoughts, and I never realized to that point how wild my mind was. So that actually began a spiritual journey. I was raised Catholic, very devout Catholic. I was an altar boy, went to Franciscan high school. So I had a strong yearning to know God, but when I reached the age of reason, so to speak, I began to doubt my Christian faith. So I started a journey which took me to 75 countries around the world.
That's amazing.
So by the time I was 25, I'd visited 75 countries. I studied in Japan in a Zen Buddhist monastery.
Okay.
I studied the Sufi tradition in Beirut, Lebanon, and studied every spiritual text I could find. When Muktananda found me, so to speak, he came to the United States, and in short order, I received Shaktipat from him, and I found what I was looking for. From the day that I met Muktananda till the day he passed,
How did you meet
I
him?
never left his side. Well, I was living in New York City at the time, and was a filmmaker, a director. Okay. And at the time I was producing a feature film and directing.
You're producing a feature film?
Feature film. So it was starring Brooke Shields. It was her first movie back in 1975. A movie released as Communion, later released as Alice, Sweet Alice.
Okay.
And I was directing an off-Broadway play. So my yoga teacher told me that there was a great siddha coming to New York City. Would I like to meet him? I said, well, I would really like to, but I'm too busy. During the day, I'm making a movie, and at night, I'm directing a play, so I couldn't meet him. So he came through town and went on to California. And about 2 weeks later, I went in to my film, to produce the film, and the executive producer told me that we were over budget and that I was fired from the film, right? And the play that I was directing opened that weekend and got terrible reviews and closed that weekend.
Okay.
So the following Monday, my yoga teacher called me and she said, I know you're too busy, but there's a group of us going to California. Would you like to come meet Muktananda? I said, well, I have the time now. I'll go with you. So we drove cross country. And the night that I arrived at the ashram, this was in Oakland, California, we got the word that Muktananda had suffered a heart attack, and he was in the hospital in San Francisco. I was crushed. We traveled all that way, and I really had a feeling this was going to be my guru. But the next morning, he sent word that he'd like to meet the new arrival. So they set up a room in the hospital where he could give darshan. So I remember that morning I prepared myself to meet the guru, right? I heard he could read people's minds. So I did extra long meditation that morning to clear my mind a bit, right? And gurus sometimes test questions. What's the sound of one hand clapping? So I had 2 cups of coffee, so my mind would be really alert, right? So I go to meet Muktananda, and I'm brought before him, and I look at him. He said, "What's your name?" And I couldn't remember my name. My mind was absolutely blank. And then he said, "Well, where are you from?" And I couldn't remember where I was from, but I remembered my name. So I told him, "I'm Baba. I'm David Nowe, Baba," and he said, very good, very good. "What kind of work do you do?" I couldn't remember what kind of work I did. Oh. But I said, "Baba, I'm from New York." I was like 2 beats behind him, right? So he swatted me with the peacock feathers and said, "Go sit here in the corner." He had other people coming. So I was sitting in the corner, and at a certain point he looked over at me, and there was a bolt of light that came out of his eye and into my heart.
Okay.
And there was an explosion. My heart opened in a way that I'd never felt before. I felt madly, madly in love with everyone and everything. The room was filled with light, and I went into samadhi instantly. I sat there for a good 3 hours. By the time I came out of meditation, the room was empty, but it had a taste of the Atman. I had a little taste of the inner self that I'd been searching for all these years. Mm-hmm. So I knew that I found what I was looking for. And I lived with Muktananda until he left his body some 8 years later.
So you had an experience of Kundalini awakening?
Immediately.
Yeah. So
and that initiated a process.
Can you tell me more about Kundalini awakening and how we can integrate it to I'm asking you very, integrate it to everyday life?
Yes.
How is that possible?
Well, once the Kundalini awakens, and maybe awakens is a misnomer because it's already functioning. It's an intelligent energy that guides our breathing process. I mean, most of us don't consciously breathe, right? It happens automatically.
That's the only thing which happens automatically.
So it's a conscious, intelligent energy that guides our breathing. It digests our food. It circulates the nutrition around the body. So it has its function on the physical plane, but it's said to be dormant or sleeping because it's not working at its full spiritual capacity. And once you receive a transmission from a lineage, the Siddha lineage, the Kundalini energy begins to work in the Sushumna Nadi and begins to pierce the various chakras as a means of unfolding our true capacity. So it awakens the spiritual dimension, removing whatever obstacles might be there, and it's ultimately leads us to the full recognition of our own divinity, recognition of the Atman within. Now with me, what happened is when I met Muktananda, I had rheumatoid arthritis. I used to walk with crutches, and on a good day I could walk with a cane.
Okay.
I had arthritic deposits in my feet, my hands, my back. And so when I would sit to meditate after receiving Shaktipat, I would begin to spontaneously do pranayama, Bastrika, Kapalabhati, begin to spontaneously do Hatha Yoga postures. And these happened for over a period of 9 months. Mm-hmm. And at the end of 9 months, all of the arthritic deposits were completely gone. I went back to my rheumatologist and he said, there's no explanation for it. You've had a spontaneous remission of rheumatoid arthritis. He'd never seen anything like that before. So the Kundalini, once it awakens, begins to purify us on whatever level we need purifying. So for me it was physical. For some people it's mental, some people it's emotional. Old traumas can come to the surface to be healed, and to be processed. Each of us receives through the Shaktipat experience what we need in order to realize the self. Whatever obstacles are there, whatever limited understanding might be there, gets transformed in the process of Kundalini awakening.
Okay. So then my next question would be, what is your take on self-realization then, ego, and the path of renunciation, or the path of realization, in terms of...
Yeah, so there are different approaches to realizing the self. And I would say, and my Baba would teach from both of them. He would teach from the perspective of Vedanta and from the perspective of Kashmiri Shaivism. So it was a little confusing for me at the beginning, because one day Baba would say, Brahman alone is real, the world is an illusion, and the individual soul is none other than Brahman, right? So renounce the world.
Vedanta.
And Vedanta, right? And the next day he would say, Chaitanya Matman, everything is consciousness. God exists in everyone and everything. Do the practice of seeing God in others and in everything. And I was, being a complete, really beginner on the spiritual path, confused. I used to think, well, which one is it? Is the world real? Is it divine? Or is it an illusion? But I came through years of practice to understand that both of those are absolutely correct, depending on our perspective. So if I think I'm a body, if I think that these forms are real, right, then it's helpful to see that the world isn't eternal. It's ephemeral. It changes, right? Most of us spend our time looking for happiness in things outside of ourselves, right?
Most of the time, yes.
And so things pass, and we don't find the lasting happiness. On the other hand, Shaivism says that everything is consciousness. So both of these are equally true depending on our perspective. When I identify with my body and my mind, it's helpful to hold the idea that all of this is an illusion, it's not ultimately real. When I identify with the self, when I have a deep experience of meditation, when I recognize that I am consciousness, I can bring that awareness back with me into the world, see that everyone and everything is also consciousness. So both of them are true and helpful, and you just need to apply them at the right time in your life.
So, I would then, very important thing, people today talk about Kundalini Shakti, and it's used very loosely. Forgive me for saying that, but
it's true.
It is used loosely. And what do you think, what is your take on this entire process of Kundalini awakening? And is this something to do with community support? Has it got some relationship with that?
Well, let me first of all say that I'm a bit troubled by the cultural appropriation that's taken place with the term Kundalini and Kundalini awakening. I have people who come to me who've taken other trainings, and they say, after I receive Shaktipat, can I go give Shaktipat to other people? What techniques are you going to teach me that I can do with others? And I say, you can give Shaktipat, but you'll need to do sadhana for 12 or 15 years. You need to really do the sadhana. So I've been saddened to see an ancient tradition, really culturally appropriated, and it's being mistaught in many cases. So that saddens me. So it's really up to the seeker to develop their discernment, their viveka, to discriminate between the true teachings and what's just somebody making money. Sadly to say.
Absolutely. So what's it? Is it a Kundalini awakening and community? Are they related to each other, or is it something which is personal? Or, just to put my next question would be, how does the transmission of Shaktipat actually happens, and what is the role of a guru in that? That's what you're saying.
So the role of the guru, the word guru va anugrahika shaktihi, that the true guru is the grace bestowing power of God. It's not a person, it's not a human being, it's a cosmic function. So in Shaivism we talk about the 5 cosmic functions of Shiva: creating the universe, manifesting it, maintaining it, withdrawing into its own being, veiling, creating the illusion of separation. And the 5th of these cosmic functions is the power of grace, which is the power of revelation. So it can flow through a human being. A human being can be a vehicle for it, or an instrument of it, but it's a power of God. It's the power of revealing who we are. So Shiva, Lord Shiva, Shiva and Shakti created this universe for their own sport, and in order to do that had to create a sense of individuality and separation. So she created the power of Maya Shakti, which is one of her Shaktis, which gives us the experience of separation and duality, so that we can enter into this human world and have a human experience. Once we've had enough of the sport, then we can begin to meditate and begin to have a spiritual practice to remember that we are Shiva, Shakti. And one of the key steps in that revelation is Shaktipat, receiving a transmission of fully awakened conscious energy that flows through a guru into us and awakens that corresponding energy within us that initiates the passion to know God, initiates the practice of meditation at a deep enough level so we can come to know the divinity that dwells within us. So it's a very natural process. I'm of the belief that it needs to be done in community, with practice. It's not, just a technique. It's really a practice.
It's a practice,
of
and
leading
it has to come through somebody who's already got the entire, has the lineage, as you put it.
I think that the lineage is the safest way to do it. There have been many stories of people doing really arduous yogic practices and having some challenging experiences as a result. If you receive this awakening through a lineage, through a guru who's been through the process themselves, they can guide you, because we go through challenging times when we're doing sadhana. Old emotions, old patterns will surface. And if you don't have someone there to guide you through those challenging times, you can think that you're going crazy or that your sadhana has gone wrong, and you can make mistakes. But you have someone that's been through the process, thinks that, I went through that, try this.
Okay, a question which is practically very important these days. So, Guruji, is that everybody talks about Tantra, Kundalini, meditation. Mm-hmm. It is connected to a person who comes for something, some desire at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So, are these Shaktis, which is the Kundalini Shakti, if anybody is awakened, or somebody has had the grace of Ma Kali or Ma Bhairavi or Bhairav, form of Shiva and Shiv Shakti, etc. I mean, there are a lot of people, and they sit in big thrones, and they're sitting there, and they have huge setups, and people come to them and for their wishes to get, worldly desires to get fulfilled. Mm-hmm. And they say that because of the past they have, gone through the consciousness they have, or the spiritual practices they've done, they are able to transmit it to the other person, so that the other desires of the worldly desires of money, relationships, finance, etc., etc., gets fulfilled. Mm-hmm. Is that a myth, or is it a reality?
Well, in my experience, I saw hundreds, if not thousands, of people on a daily basis come to meet my guru. He had a time where he gave darshan, and people would come up and offer him an apple or an orange or something, and people would come up and ask for boons. Find me a wife, find me a husband, get me a good job, I need money, heal my uncle, do all these various things. And Baba would bless them. And his guru, Bhagavan Nityananda, was really known for that. People would come and ask for a boon, and he'd take this neem leaf and make a cup of tea and they'd be healed. Or he would touch them. So there were all sorts of miracles that would take place around these great siddhas. There's the Shiva Sutras say kata japaha, which means that for one who's established in the self, every word that they speak manifests as truth, it becomes true. And so we would see this. We would see miracles. I mean, I had the experience of my arthritis, and I saw hundreds. My Baba seemed to have the capacity of taking people's addictions away. In his darshan basket, people would come up and put a bottle of whiskey, or put in a carton of cigarettes, or take a syringe or some kind of drug and put it there, and they would notice that these, they would be over. We asked Baba one time, said, Baba, you know, you're a great siddha and you have the knowledge of the self. Why do you work with these sort of petty miracles? And he said something that really struck me. He said, I give them what they want when they come, right? So that they will come to want what I have to give. Great mystery. He would give them the wife or the child or the money to satisfy that desire, and that would increase their desire to know the self. So, you know, the four values of life, kama, artha, dharma, moksha. The siddhas can bestow all of that, but really what they most passionately desire to give is liberation, is knowledge of the self. But human beings have desires. So you satisfy the desire, then you want to come to know God. So these siddhis, I believe, are real. These great siddha masters, in their presence, miracles take place every day.
I mean, you've yourself been a siddha yourself. You've had siddhi from your guru. So, I mean, do you also help people?
Well, I help people to the extent that I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
My
primary passion is knowledge of the self. If people have other desires and they continue to meditate, they'll receive the desires that they're looking for. But the ultimate desire is to know God, to know the inner self.
How do we differentiate between people like yourself and others who are there? How does a person like me differentiate between them?
For me, I'll just share with you my experience. When I'm weighing a decision, or if I'm looking, I look to the heart. I don't look to the mind. If I'm making a decision, should I do this, or should I do that, or should I get involved with this person or with that person? I look at the feeling in the heart. The heart knows. There's a divinity within us that's omniscient, and it's looking out for us. If we just listen to the head, you know, I'll give you an example. I had a business decision years ago that I was having to make. And I made a pros and cons list, and I had 20 good reasons why I should do this. I wrote them all out. And only one reason that I shouldn't do it, right? And I looked in my heart, and I knew that I shouldn't do it, but I did it anyway, because I had all these good reasons to do it, and it didn't turn out well. So I've learned that the mind can play tricks. The mind can have desires and justify doing something, but if you listen to the heart doesn't make mistakes.
It's the energy of the heart versus the energy of the mind, you mean to say?
Yes, so I went with the energy of the mind, and it didn't work. I should have listened to the energy of the heart.
In our Shaivism method or any other method, what do you call this energy of the heart and the energy of the mind?
So I look at it.
People define it in terms of chakras, and they call the Aryan chakras, the Sahasra chakra, and then
Well,
is it related to
most of us had the experience of having two voices inside, at least two voices, maybe more, right? So there's the voice of the ego, the ahamkara, which speaks first and loudest and most aggressively, and there's the voice of the self, which expresses itself through the heart. Sometimes it's in words, but usually it's in feelings. So through meditation, we gain the capacity to discern between the two voices within. And the more we meditate, the more sensitive we become to knowing what's good for us. We know how to tune into the voice of truth and can differentiate that from the voice of the ego. So it requires practice to do that. And you make mistakes along the way, and we learn from our mistakes.
Guruji, I'll come to that towards the end. I was reading about your 40 days of the darkness you were there, and the insight, your kayakalpa.
Yes.
And the preparation you did for it.
Yes.
Can you give a little? Tell people about that?
I was here. This was in 1970, right before COVID hit, and I was down in Kerala doing a 28-day panchakarma treatment. I was in a hospital down there, Vaiduratam Hospital, Dr. Musa, and I had just an amazing 28 days there. COVID came, and the doctor said, you need a little time for your body to recover. You've been through a really intense 28 days. Get out of Kerala right now, because Kerala was the first place where COVID hit here in India. He said, get out, So I came to Rishikesh and arrived just one day before lockdown. So I settled there. When lockdown ended, I went to see my old friend, Dr. Aurora, in Tapovan, and he's the head of the Ayurvedic practitioners in the state of Uttarakhand. And I just went to see him as an old friend because I'd done panchakarma with him many times. And he said, let me check you out. He checked me out. He said, wow, you're in good shape. You're really healthy, and you've been meditating and doing practice. He said, my thesis when I was in Ayurveda school was about kayakalpa, and I've been waiting 40 years to find someone that I could do it with. I said, well, tell me, what is it?
Okay.
He said, this kayakalpa is a 40-day fast. It requires 9 months of preparation for it, because you have to wean yourself of food. You gradually eat less food, and you get panchakarma every day. So I did 9 months of panchakarma treatment, the massage and the shirodhara and everything. Gradually wean myself of food, and entered into a darkened space. One of the ashrams had prepared a darkened space for me where all the light was blocked off, and each morning they would bring me A2 cow's milk. They brought in a special cow for me to have a glass of milk every morning and every evening. I walked in and spent 40 days in complete darkness.
So what was your experience in this darkness? What are your inner senses and the perceptions?
Really,
if you can share it with people.
I can hardly begin to describe it, because it was so amazing. But there was a period of time where my third eye opened up, and I could see in the room. There was a blue light coming from here, illuminating the room. At first, literally, it was coming out of my eye. And first I thought maybe there's light that's managed to get in the room. So I put the blanket over me, and I could see inside of that. So in a darkened room under blanket, I could see perfectly clear. This blue light was coming out. Okay. And I stayed for a couple of days. I could see.
Another inside to outside or outside to inside? I mean, the light
was coming from here.
Okay.
It was like, if you ever seen those miners,
yeah.
They went down into the cave and they have a light here.
Right.
It illuminates. So this was
it was from inside
from inside out. The second major experience was I began to hear the major nadas. The 10 major nadas that they talk about on the inside.
Yeah.
The inner sounds, the sound of the ocean, and then the sound of bees humming and those sorts of things. And I would be able to tune into the celestial realms of music. And there were different channels that I could select, so to speak. So I could listen to Indian chants, I could listen to Western classical music, and I could just listen to this for hours and hours. And if I would get bored, I could change channels.
The sound and knowledge that you're saying,
was coming
is it related to the Vedic concepts?
Yes, absolutely.
How?
The 10 major nada, the term nada, the major sounds, I would hear all of those. Yes. I could hear the phonemes of the Sanskrit alphabet being the basis of all the sounds that I heard. In other words, outside of my room there were animals, and they would be speaking, and I could hear them speaking in these Sanskrit syllables. I had a water faucet where I would get my water and bathe and things, and I could hear the Sanskrit sounds being formed by the water. Okay. There was actually a period of time where there were spirits trying to communicate with me, and they used the vehicle of water to create the sound enough that I could.
Well, that's amazing. They used water, and water is very important. That's what
they used the water, and the water would form syllables, and they could speak to me. There was one demonic voice that was trying to get me to quit, and I had to turn the water off and close the door and get away from that.
Okay, through the water, it was interacting with you.
Yeah, exactly. And the doctor would come every couple of weeks just to make sure and check my heart, make sure I was okay. And the final sign was that all of my skin,
hair, and biological changes would have happened to you also?
Well, the big change that the doctor said signaled that we were complete is all my skin came off.
Skin came off?
I molted like a snake.
Okay.
Just literally, it would peel. I would take one peel. This would peel off. So this happened around the 38th day of the fast. And at that point, I was really enjoying, because I was just doing mantras, and I had set up in the little room yoga mats.
So they talk about in Ayurvedic, they talk about shedding your skin and shedding your old. This is all related to that. That is somewhere.
Exactly. So physical, there was a shedding. Psychological, there was shedding. Different concepts. Just being in complete silence I stayed for 42 days. And came back, and the world hasn't been the same since.
So was the reset in your biological clock also?
Reset that's one of the benefits of this, is it resets the biological clock. So there's a process called autophagy, which is that the healthy cells in the body eat the unhealthy cells.
Oh, that's what cancer is all about.
So it would any latent diseases were eradicated. I'm 75
great
years
health
old.
Benefits,
Great health benefits and great spiritual benefits.
If you could summarize the whole process of the pain, the emotions, and end the completion of this, what was your journey like in terms of?
Well,
these two things everybody understands.
I can honestly understand there was no pain.
Okay.
I never experienced a moment of loneliness.
Okay.
There was no pain, no painful memories. Emotions didn't come up. There was only one moment of fear that I had, when there was an evil spirit that was trying to talk to me through the water, trying to get me to quit before the 40 days was up. I made the commitment to go the 40 days, and it wanted me to quit.
How did it try? What did it do?
It began to speak to me, and it was a very dark energy. It just felt, it was frightening. It felt dirty. It felt just like a raksha, like a demon or something was trying to ruin the experience for me. So I turned the water off so it couldn't communicate with me, closed the door, and went and stayed in my room. But that was the only a moment that was uncomfortable.
And
the
what
rest
were the
of
positive
time was
energies?
mostly
The positive energies of people who were trying to talk to you. What was their experience?
Just
what was your
keep
experience?
Going. Keep going. Mostly what I was doing was repeating mantras, and I'd received various initiations from my guru, and so I would spend an hour or two with each of the different mantras. So my initiation mantra was Om Namah Shivaya. Later I was initiated into the mantra Hamsa, with the breath. When I took sannyas, it was Aham Brahmasmi. And so what I would do is I spent most of my days walking in my room. I was in a room, and I had my yoga mats around the bed, so I wouldn't bang into the wall. When I got to the end of the yoga mat, I knew that it was time to turn around and go the other direction. So basically, Aham Brahmasmi. I remembered keenly the moment that I received that mantra from my guru. After 7 days and 7 nights of fasting with my guru and all the sannyas rituals, he breathed into my ear, Aham Brahmasmi. He said, this isn't the mantra that you repeat. He said, whenever you need to remember the self, just remember this moment, the transmission of the awareness of I am Brahman. It's not, the mantra is the sound vibration of the experience of the self. It's not just the word, but it's the transmission of the experience. So that was the most powerful part for me. Was
you used to eat only once a day or something. Once that milk, that glass of milk. That's
glass of milk in the morning, glass of milk at night.
That's it.
That was it. Yeah.
So this darkness, mantras, meditation, and being there, I mean, it was like it's amazing. I mean, this is the first time I'm actually hearing such an experience.
It was the first time it had been done in Uttarakhand in 70 years. They'd been waiting for someone to do this, and Dr. Orff felt that I had done enough sadhana.
Dr. Orff is still there? He's still in Uttarakhand?
He's in Uttarakhand. Others have heard about my experience and have approached him about doing the kayakalpa, and he said...
But you have to be...
He said he would allow people to do 7 days or 10 days, but I was the only one that he said do the 40 days.
So what is your advice? What is your daily routine meditation? How do you integrate it?
Well,
I mean, it's
changed over the years.
You've got so many ashrams, 3,500 ashrams. You travel so much, so many centers. You're handling across the world. It's like a large, in itself a conglomerate of people, and there's so many people looking at you for. And besides that, you do your own integration, meditation, and of course, you're blessed. I mean, you're blessed, so you have that power. But what is it, would you advise to a common man? How should he integrate his daily life with, meditation and other things? And
I think the most important thing is to have a commitment to meditation. Now, I've been doing it with Muktananda now for 50 years. Before that, I did transcendental meditation for 8 years. So my core practice is meditation. I close my eyes, turn within, honor my guru, repeat my mantra. I do meditation on the self. So that's number one. I have the commitment to do that every day. That's key. Now, the other practices that I do have varied over the year. When I lived in the ashram, there were times when we would chant mantras, stotra mantras, things like the Guru Gita or the Vishnu Sahasranam or the Rudram or the Bhagavad Gita or something. We would do these long stotra mantras. As much as six hours a day, we would do arati and regular ashram schedule. Selfless service. So my personal selfless service now is teaching. So I devote myself. I really feel as if I'm in the latter years of my life. So I feel like my guru did, he poured himself out in his last years of life. The doctors told him, slow down, slow down. He had a heart condition and diabetes, but he said, no, I want to give as much as I can while I still have a body. And my guru bhav, my feeling of identification with the guru is very much like that. So I'm 75, I travel the world. My service is teaching. And I give Shaktipat as often as I'm invited to do that, usually a couple times a month. So selfless service, satsang, meditation. I happen to also love kirtan.
Sorry?
Kirtan. I love kirtan.
Okay.
I love chanting various mantras. We formed a group called the Rishikesh Kirtan Sangha. Have over 1,000 members where we have chanting.
What exactly is ashram in Rishikesh, just for the people to... I will put everything in my podcast and this thing, but what is the website or anything?
Well, we don't really have a website yet. It's in development.
Okay.
I've kept a low profile over the years, but we do have a WhatsApp group called Brahmananda Sangha.
Brahmananda Sangha.
Brahmananda Sangha on WhatsApp, where people can be in touch, and very shortly we're going to be launching a website.
Okay.
And on the website I'll post where I'm going to be on my various tours.
Obviously, I mean, because you're traveling all over the world, I mean, next 30 days, and then you told me for next 90 days. How do you integrate the East and the West, finally?
I think it has to do with experience. I was raised Catholic, so I was,
that's why I asked you this
really was devoted to the Catholic tradition. And so I started thinking about it, and I began to see conflicts in the teachings, things that didn't make sense to me. Once I was with Muktananda, and I had a direct experience of the inner self, then I went back to my Christian tradition and saw it in a new perspective. You know, I spent 5 years in Assisi, Italy, leading retreats there based on the life of St. Francis, great saint, who I believe was a fully self-realized Siddha being.
Obviously.
In the Christian faith. So I began looking at his teachings and saw in veiled languages the teachings of Siddha Yoga in Christian form. For example, he said, one of his great quotes was, "That which you are looking for is that which is looking."
It's inside you.
So he was really talking about the inner witness, right? The unchanging eye, the unchanging awareness, the witness of the mind. He had a direct experience of that, being raised Catholic, growing up in the Catholic faith and teaching Catholicism. He could only language it that way. So I began to see the commonalities between the East and the West. You know, how they might describe it this way from the Eastern tradition. There's the mic, there's the mic. They would describe it differently, but they're really saying the same thing. So the key, I think, is to experience spirituality, not to get stuck in dogma or theory or philosophy. It has to be realized through practice. And meditation I have found to be the most effective practice to realize what these philosophies are pointing at. You know, in the Zen tradition, they say, the finger that points to the moon isn't the moon, it's the path. And what I find in many traditions is people get stuck in the dogma, the theology, the beliefs, and that becomes their religion, rules and regulations, rather than the experience that the religion's pointing to. And all religions can take you all the way, so long as you don't get stuck in the dogma and the theology.
In fact,
go to the experience.
In fact, you answered a very important question. Today, the geopolitical situation around the world is basically because of sects, because of religion, because of so many other things which are there. And what you just now said answers that, perhaps.
I think there's a disease of what I would call fundamentalism. And you can find it in every religion. You have fundamentalist Christians, you have fundamentalist Hindus, fundamentalist Muslims, and they believe that the word is the literal truth. The literal truth, and get stuck in the literal meaning without getting at the spirit of what it's pointing at. And this is the challenge I see worldwide right now, is that the world seems to be leaning, for the most part, towards a fundamentalist point of view. And yet at the same time, the yogis say that there's always an equal balance between the light and the dark. So we see all these wars and fundamentalist battles and things going on. But at the same time, I think there's a great awakening that's taking place worldwide. People are recognizing the self more and more.
Even the younger generation, they're inquisitive about it.
Yeah.
So what is, I mean, is that your aim? You travel so much, you got so many ashrams, so many centers, you go to so many churches, as explained. Is getting everybody to a common platform that look at yourself, meditate, is that one of your core visions?
Absolutely.
Or is it more than that?
And it's really just to know the self in whatever religion you're practicing. I don't ask anyone to give up their religion.
Absolutely.
You know, you can realize God as a Christian, as a Hindu, as a Jew, as a Muslim. Just add the knowledge of the self, then you'll really understand your own tradition. So none of the religions, like you look at Buddha, you look at Jesus, they didn't want to start a religion. They said, follow me. The kingdom of heaven is within you. People made the religions, you know, to honor them, but the founders of those religions, so to speak, the heads never really wanted that. That's not why they came. So we've really changed their message. Instead of, when Jesus said, "Follow me," he said, "Hey, I realize the self, I realize the Christ, follow me, let's go realize the self." And we deify him and make him into a God that he never claimed to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the same way that Jesus is God, so are we. We just have to realize it.
So that's amazing. Yeah, that's something which I'm awestruck also with your entire philosophy, and your entire thesis is on meditation, is on easy meditation. So, do you have something apart from Rishikesh, also in India and other towns like Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, the 50 big towns of India, or anywhere else where actually people can approach you, like you have?
Well, right now,
Yeah.
I'm homeless. I don't have a particular home that I live.
I didn't want to say that, so that's why I was curious.
No, I am homeless. I had intended to retire here in India, but the visa to stay on the permanent was denied, and so I got a shock one day. I got a message, email saying, your case has been closed and you need to leave India in 30 days. And I went to the FR office. I said, what happened? I had letters from a governor and I'm teaching at universities. It's retaliation for Donald Trump's policies towards Indians in America, that the Americans are being sent home. So I said, wow. So at first I was horrified and disappointed that I couldn't stay, but I realized that God was redirecting me from just retiring in India, in Rishikesh, and sending me on a world mission. So what I did is I posted in my Brahmananda Sangha that I was needing to leave India. Where should I go? And all of these invitations. Come to the UK, come to Lithuania, come to Mexico, come to the United States. And so that's what I'm doing right now, is I don't have a permanent place that I call home, but I go wherever I'm invited.
So you'll go all around the world.
All around the world.
That's a good way. You're going to teach, preach, and that's going to be each person whom you teach meditation. The way of life is going to be
and my passion,
a multiplier.
My passion right now is creating other teachers.
Yeah, that's
so we are creating a teacher training program that we're going to offer next spring in Rishikesh, 2-month intensive course on Kashmiri Shaivism, where people can come learn Kashmiri Shaivism, the practices, the philosophy, and then go back and
Kashmiri Shaivism is very complicated, I understand.
The fundamental teachings are very simple. Everything is consciousness. God dwells within you. Meditate on your own self. See God in everyone and in everything. That's it in a nutshell. If you really want to get into the details of it, it can be very, very complicated. But to practice it is very simple.
Okay. The last question which I want to ask you, and which everybody keeps on answering, is that we have gurus, we have siddhas, you yourself, you've regenerated yourself, and you've gone through that process of 40 days, etc. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, a normal person, any normal person, even a person who's on a higher level may not get that chance, but get that opportunity or get the right person, and Dr. Roff, as you said, this doesn't take people. So you have to be a particular utensil to get into that path. So is death inevitable? Is death the final journey, or is death inevitable, or you can surpass death? Because it is this fear of death somewhere which leads to a lot of complications. Mm-hmm. So with all your experience and all meeting of so many people, do you think that death is a kind of a illusion? Is it reality? Or what's your take on death?
Yeah. So I'm of the belief, And I haven't experienced this yet, so it's still a belief. It's not my actual experience, right? But I have the belief that the body will pass. I think that that's inevitable.
Yes.
Maybe sometime in the future we'll have technology that allows the body to remain. But the self is eternal.
Self is eternal.
So I'm a big believer in the Bhagavad Gita, that death is a kind of a changing of clothes.
Okay.
You know, that when the body has served its purpose, we let the body go, but the spirit is eternal. The spirit doesn't die.
And that is what you experienced when you were in the cave.
Yeah, I
You
experienced
did,
that when
you
I
know,
was
yeah.
in the cave, and I've also had a near-death experience where I left the body
Okay.
for a period of time and was able to view the body and go to the light.
Okay, you left
And
it. I know,
return.
I've heard some, yeah. You can leave the body, travel across the space and come back.
And come back. I've had that.
You've had that experience.
I've had that experience. So,
Amazing.
so I'm a firm believer that the self is unchanging. It can't be touched. It can't be burnt, as the Bhagavad Gita says.
So you have energy which can go out, leaves the body when it's of
Consciousness itself.
itself, yeah.
So the fundamental truth, Shaivism says that the nature of reality is consciousness. The nature of the individual soul is consciousness, you know. And we have the experience of having a body, but it's not us ultimately. The body will pass, the thoughts will pass, everything will pass, but the witness is unchanging. The unchanging I, the Atman, can't die. It's eternal.
Takes the
So it gives me great faith to
That is why they say that the great souls remain in the, you know, in the aura space for a longer time, and they have their own, you know, they don't take birth easily, or they have the power of taking the rebirth as and when, you know, they want.
And they also choose the moment of their own passing.
Choose the, yeah.
My Baba very carefully chose his time. He appointed his successors. We had a big Pat Abhishek, a big celebration with 10,000 people there, where he put the brother and the sister on the throne and said, they will take my place. He had them construct his burial pit, instructed the people around him how he was to be buried, and then sent all the swamis away. He put me in Los Angeles and people in different ashrams around the world. Then he went to Kashmir, said goodbye to his very dear friend Lakshman Ju, went, sat on the Shankarpali rock where the Shiva Sutras were revealed, then came back, left his body.
So he knew it all.
He knew
He did it all.
He knew when he was going in. My very dear friend Chakrapani Ulal,
Yeah.
very well-known
Astrologer.
Jyotish astrologer, had looked at his chart and said this was the most auspicious time to leave. Only a Siddha could leave at that moment, at that time, and he did.
So it's all that's our realization that is important. And at the end of this podcast, once again, I would like you to summarize a message for everybody who's listening to this podcast.
My message is very simple. It's the message of my guru to me, and I will share it with you. He said, meditate on yourself, honor yourself, love your own being. God dwells within you, as your true self, as your very own consciousness. The creator of the universe dwells within you as your own being. Realize your own self. And then, when you open your eyes, see God everywhere. See God in everyone and in everything. This is my blessing.
Thank you very
for having
much.
me. Thank you
very much for being with me.